Imagine a country with more oil than Saudi Arabia. A nation that once boasted the highest standard of living in South America, where the currency was stronger than the dollar, and the future seemed written in gold. Now, imagine that same nation in a total economic freefall. Inflation reaching over 1,000,000%. 7 million people, roughly a quarter of the population, fleeing their homes. In 2025, the shadow boxing between Washington and Caracas has escalated from diplomatic insults to a full-scale naval blockade. Is this a fight for democracy or a battle for the world's largest oil reserves? Tonight, we peel back the rhetoric to look at the collision of two empires, the American and the Bolivarian, the golden era and the pivot. To understand the vitriol of today, we have to go back to 1922, when a massive oil gusher at Lake Maracaibo changed the world's energy map. For nearly 80 years, the U.S. and Venezuela were the closest of allies. Venezuela fueled the Allied tanks in World War II and the American suburbs in the 50s. But beneath the surface of this pontofagismo, democracy, a divide was growing. The oil wealth wasn't reaching the barrios. By 1989, the Caracazo riots sparked by U.S.-backed austerity measures left hundreds dead. Enter Hugo Chavez. In 1998, he won the presidency on a promise to use oil wealth for the poor and to break the chains of American imperialism. The relationship shattered in 2002 during a failed coup against Chavez. The U.S. was accused of tacitly supporting the plot. Chavez never trusted Washington again. The spiral of sanctions. When Chavez died in 2013, he left behind a polarized nation and his successor, Nicolas Maduro. But the timing was catastrophic. Global oil prices collapsed, and the Bolivarian Revolution, heavily dependent on high crude prices, began to buckle. Washington's response was a strategy of maximum pressure. Starting in 2017, the U.S. moved beyond sanctioning individuals to sanctioning the oil industry itself, Venezuela's lifeblood. Washington asserts these sanctions are a tool to starve a narco-dictatorship of funds used to repress its people. They point to the 2018 and 2024 elections as fraudulent and argue that only economic pressure can force a return to democracy. Caracas calls these unilateral coercive measures essentially an illegal economic war. They argue that by blocking oil sales and seizing assets like CITGO, the U.S. is the primary cause of the humanitarian crisis, intentionally making the population suffer to spark a coup. Conclusion: the human cost. History rarely offers clean answers. Is Venezuela a victim of its own mismanagement and corruption, or a casualty of a geopolitical game it was never allowed to win? Is the U.S. acting as a defender of human rights, or an architect of a humanitarian catastrophe? One thing is certain: as the warships sit off the coast and the diplomats exchange threats in New York, it is the millions of ordinary Venezuelans who pay the price in hunger and exile, and in the loss of a country that was once the envy of the world. This conflict isn't just about two governments. It's about the future of international law and the ethics of economic warfare. We want to hear from you. Do you believe economic sanctions are a legitimate tool for promoting democracy, or do they unfairly punish the most vulnerable citizens? Given the history of the Monroe Doctrine, should the U.S. have a say in the governance of its neighbors, or is any intervention a violation of sovereignty? If you were a citizen of Caracas today, where would you place the blame for the empty shelves? On the palace in Miraflores or the White House? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation respectful and informed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dive into the stories shaping our world.